She has been in the events industry for over 12 years and is currently leading Gorgeous's events department. Together with her team, she runs 300 plus events a year. I'll let that sink in, including DTCX Global, DTCX Retain, DTCX Talks, Gorgeous CX Connect, and many other events. 300 plus events a year. In this session, she will share easy to use methods to attract quality leads before, during, and after events. Her method explains how to use technology and data to keep track of engagement and measure success. I hope you will find practical tips and real life examples to help you apply these tactics to your event planning. Please join me in welcoming Anna Tumanova.
All right, so today's topic is about boosting event ROI, lead generation, and tracking tactics. Just a little bit about me before we start. My name is Anna Tumanova. I am originally from Moscow, currently based in Toronto, Canada. I'm an events marketing lead at Gorgeous, and as Beth mentioned, I have been in the events industry for over 12 years. I've been at Gorgeous for 3.5 years, and Gorgeous has been my first company in the commerce space. Together at Gorgeous, we founded the DTCX community with the help of Bevy, the organizers of the summit, and we have been running multiple events since then. In my career, I ran over 1,000 events in over 10 countries. That's not counting virtual events, obviously. I've lived in 3 countries. I ran my own company in China for 3 years. And at this point of my career, I have probably organized every kind of event you can imagine. So why events marketing? So firstly, as you would all agree, emotional memory is the strongest. Just think about any event you've ever been to, regardless if it is a business event, a personal event like a wedding or a birthday party, or if it is a concert of your favorite band or a party with your favorite DJ. You always remember the emotions that you got at the party. And business events are not an exception to build the emotional memory for your attendees, because there can be a lot of positive things associated with a business event as much as with an in-person, with a personal event or with a cultural event. Another reason why we love events marketing is that the social media buzz is guaranteed. You all like taking pictures, so please drop in the chat yes if you've ever taken a picture and posted it on your social media, right? Okay, so we all share pictures. We like to show where we go, who we hang out with, and that gives a huge exposure for your brand. Another advantage of any events, virtual or in person, is of course that you can establish new connections, because whenever I organize an event, I always tell the attendees that you need to meet at least 5 new people after each event. And I actually hope to meet more than 5 people today after this session. I'll share my contact details later and we can all catch up. Another thing that is important to mention is that every attendee who comes to an event has a sense of belonging. So especially if you build a community around your brand and your events are repeatable in different cities, in different formats, virtual, in person, it's very important to create this feeling for the attendees when they can come back, when they can be always expecting a positive outcome, where they can meet new connections, where they can hang out with their friends. It's extremely important. Another thing is that, of course, there's also obvious benefits for every stakeholder. For speakers, there's exposure. For sponsors, there's a lot of lead gen opportunities that we're going to talk about a little bit more today. And of course, for the attendees, it's a lot of networking and a lot of learning as well. It's also a meaningful way to build partnerships, retain customers, and as I said before, generate leads. And of course, it's endless satisfaction on the team. At Gorgeous, we have 3 people on the team. I'm an events marketing lead, and I also have 2 other amazing event managers on my team. One is based in Toronto, and one of them is based in Paris. And we all love our job. The next one. So important thing to chat about is the types of events we do at Gorgeous. And of course, Gorgeous is the company that is specialized in the tech software for e-commerce Shopify brands. However, all these events are relevant for any other industries. For example, if some of you are not in e-com, but in some other industries, I'm sure that these formats will also be relevant for your industry. So First one is the major industry trade show. So every industry always has a list of trade shows that are the most popular, where everybody from the ecosystem goes. They are usually held in major cities. For ecom, for example, I would highlight nine major trade shows that we participate in on a yearly basis. One of them is in the EMEA region, two of them are in the APAC region, and others are in North America, where our major market is located. So we always want to make sure that our company has a great presence at those trade shows. It's a little bit harder to get a return on investment from those. I'll be transparent, because the, this is the most costly event out of the ones that mentioned here. And whenever you go whenever you want to present your company at the trade show, it always costs, right? It's the big sponsorship fee. There's always a lot of fees associated with building a beautiful booth, with getting a lot of giveaways. We'll talk about it later in the presentation today. However, I just wanted to highlight that this is the most costly event, and you don't have to be at every single trade show, but you definitely want to be at major ones. So I would say, if you are an event marketer for your brand, for your software company, or for your agency, do identify those major trade shows for your brand and make sure that your company is represented in the best possible way. Another type of the event is a virtual summit like this one today, right? So the biggest advantage of the virtual summit is that anybody can join. Usually they are free, or they have a lower fee to attend, and you can join it from any country, from any city, from any part of the world, right? And at any time as well, because usually the summits are recorded, and even if you cannot attend live, you can always watch recording afterwards. And if you have time to attend live, you have a unique opportunity to meet speakers in real time and ask questions in the Q&A. I will make sure that I'll leave some time for Q&A of my session as well. And virtual summits and basically webinars, right? So what is the difference between webinars and virtual summits? So the major difference is that webinar is usually just one track, and it has like some very specific neuro topic, while virtual summits usually have separate tracks, have networking tables, have virtual booth for sponsors, for partners, and usually they have broader topics that are covered during the event, and therefore a larger amount of speakers and larger amount of attendees. Conferences. So a lot of people, actually, including my coworkers at Gorgeous, sometimes confuse the word conference and trade show. So imagine, like, the easiest way to explain the difference is that it's just the size. So trade show is usually when you have a lot of booth that you walk the aisles. It usually 1, 2, or 3 days, and it's usually a large exhibition hall. I'm sure many of you have been to those events, and there is a lot of people from the ecosystem. Usually thousands of people attend those in within a few days. Conferences are way smaller. They can be 1 day or 2 days, but usually there is a main stage. There is content associated with that, and booths sometimes exist, sometimes they don't, but they're usually smaller, and they're usually more compact and more narrow in terms of topics and industries. There is obviously community meetups, and actually here on the slide I attached a picture from a community meetup in New York, DTCX Talks New York, that I hosted last year in November, and that we're going to be hosting this year in November again. So those ones are usually between, for us, it's usually between 50 to 100 people, but meetups can be also for 100, 150 people. I usually don't recommend to host a meetup that is larger than that, because then it turns into a conference, right? So if you want attendees to actually meet each other and to make sure that everyone meets everyone, or mostly everyone, make sure that you also don't make your meetup too large. There's themed parties. Themed parties are a lot of fun to manage, but a little bit harder to track ROI from, and to get ROI from, and to track ROI from, because, as you would imagine, remember any time when you went to a themed party, you have, like at Gorgeous, I've hosted cosmic parties, I've hosted Hawaiian parties, I've hosted white parties, I've hosted Gatsby parties, and all of those that you can imagine. And usually those are mostly focused on entertainment, which is great for bonding purposes with your existing customers, with your potential customers, with your partners especially. And those are great. However, I just want to specify that this is not the most ROI generating event. However, they are great if you have extra budget for marketing exposure of your brand. Another important, two important formats to highlight that are actually great for lead generation are dinners and ABM experiences. So, mm, by dinners, obviously, like they can be customer appreciation dinners. We at Gorgeous actually hosted five of those just last week in different cities in North America. And yeah, we did one in London too. So dinners are very important because it's usually an intimate group of 20 to 30 people, and everybody gets to know everybody. You can sit and share a meal with a person. And if you think about it, like the difference between a party and a dinner, when you go to a party, you usually have a quick conversation, like a 10-minute conversation with every attendee, right? You go to a bar, you get a drink, you just exchange a few words, small talk, and then you move on to the next person, then next person, right? So it's very important that like when you're at the dinner you can actually sit down and share a meal. That's definitely an advantage of that. A disadvantage, because it's a dinner, you only talk to the people that are around you. You only talk to the person that is sitting on the left, on the right, and maybe a few other people on your table. However, at your table, however, you can't really communicate with each and every person at that event because you are seated, right? However, there is tactics that um, I usually use to make sure that everybody meets each other at the dinner as well. And I can share those. If you ping me on LinkedIn, I'm happy to jump on a call and share those. There is ABM experiences. So ABM experiences, if anybody knows what ABM stands for. So account-based marketing events can actually be not only experiences, but also dinners. But I highlighted them separately is because we at Gorgeous started doing it last year, and it actually works really well for us. So dinner is something that anybody can go to anytime. Of course, there is like a list of popular restaurants where people like to go. However, if you want to attract some high profile leads for your brand, for your company, in that case you need to go a little bit above and beyond, right? So you want to be above and beyond, right? So basically what you do is that you choose the restaurants that are very hard to get a table at, that have like lines to get a table, to get a reservation, and it's very on a big demand. And another thing to do is just to book experiences for people. So by experiences I mean concerts, concert suites, or sporting games, or music festivals. Actually, next week we are doing an activation at Austin City Limits in Austin. So that's very exciting. And in August, we did Lollapalooza in Chicago. So we invited our high profile leads. We bought them VIP passes, or sometimes we buy a box, we rent a box and get a suite there and just make sure that we all have a great time. Okay, so now lead generation pre and post event, because the moment you accept and the moment you decide that you are doing an event, you want to make sure that there is lead generation happening pre event, during the event, and post event, right? So we're going to talk about all of those. So, about pre event lead gen. So, firstly, of course, you want to do content marketing because you want to make sure that you create different articles, different blogs, you share the event in a newsletter, and you make sure that there is a lot of value brought to the attendees who are attending. For example, here is a picture of gorgeous user conference that we hosted this year in LA in June, called Gorgeous CX Connect. And we had over 300 people. 80% of those were our existing customers, and the goal of that conference was to educate them how to use Gorgeous product. Therefore, we advertised it as an educational conference. It was not really a lead gen one for us. Mm, However, we invited a lot of customers and we educated them how to use our products, and also made sure that because we launched our new AI agent this year in July, so we wanted to make sure that all of them are informed about it and know how to use it. And we offered some special beta test trials to the customers who attended. So you want to make sure that whatever offerings you have at the event, whatever value attendees will get at the event, you want to make sure that they actually know about it, and this way they can make a decision if they want to come. Of course, you want to do social media campaigns. You want to advertise it on your company's social media accounts. You want to do targeted email marketing. So email marketing is great because you can actually segment the audience that you want to invite. While social media and newsletter is pretty much open for everybody, you want to make sure that like when you send email marketing campaigns, you segment your audience by specific criteria. For example, if I'm running a customer user conference, I will select customers that are based in LA and in the surrounding areas with a certain GMV, right? if I want that filter on my campaign. If I'm running a lead generation event, then I want to make sure that I'm segmenting segmenting e-commerce brands who are not on Gorgeous, so that I make sure that we're inviting those. And most of the time, to be transparent, this is a little bit mix of both. It's not just customers or just leads. We actually open it up to both, but the percentage, like for example for Gorgeous user conference, would be 80% customers, right? And then for a dinner, it would probably be 80% leads. So you always make sure, sometimes you would run a partner event, right? For example, you want to make sure that like you are creating a cool event for your tech or agency partners, and you are inviting only parts to those. Another way is also to, speaking of partners, right? So it's a great way to bring your leads. So for example, let's say you're looking for to close a certain customer. You've been chasing them for a while, but there's no success. But you know that some partners are actually, so that this customer is actually using the solutions of some of your partners. So what you could do, you could invite your partner to invite, if they have personal relationship with that brand, you will invite your partner and invite that potential lead to attend your event, so that you get access to their contact. And there is a lot of tools that you can use for pre-event lead gen strategies. So of course it's HubSpot or Salesforce, whatever you're using. It's Bevy or any other event management platforms. I was a Bevy user for 3 years, and I really enjoyed communicating with their team. They have a lot of nice updates and a lot of nice additions to their tool every time. And there's also a MailChimp, that you can send customer communications to. You can use Mailchimp to send the customer communications or attendee communications as well. Of course, so we talked about pre-event tactics, and then next there is on-site lead gen tactics. So what you can do when you're already at the event, you are either at a virtual event or you're at the in-person event. So what you can do, you can have if there is a trade show or a conference, you can have an interactive booth. You want to make sure that you engage attendees with some elements. You want to do some fun activations. Maybe you put a photo zone. Maybe you do some fun giveaways that we're talking about here. You also want to make sure that you have team prepared to run live demos, especially if it is possible. If you're a part of the tech solution provider company, you can run live demos. If you are part of the agency, you want to make sure that your team is prepared to explain how this agency can actually help. If you're in a com brand, you want to make sure that your products are exhibited very well and people can try them. If you're, for example, producing perfume, you want to make sure there's testers of this perfume at the booth, right? You want to make sure that your customer is able to interact with your services or with your products. There is, of course, a lot of networking. You want to make sure that if you're at a trade show, for example, you're not just stuck at your booth, right? You want to make sure that like there's always time for each member of the team to walk around the floor, to go to other people's booths, to interact with other attendees. If you're at the networking event, like today, the virtual event, like today, for example, you want to make sure that you share your contact information so that people can stay in touch with you. Tools, right? What tools we can use. So we actually at Gorgeous, we use multiple tools, and it's just impossible to name them all on one slide. However, I've mentioned a few. So obviously we have QR codes, right, that we create for links that we want, for demo links or for next event, upcoming event links. We use Typeform. For example, if we're at the booth, we usually have a Typeform set up with a survey, and then people need to fill in the survey, and then if they qualify for it, we give them something nice. Rebrandly is just a tool to create UTMs, but there is a bunch of others that exist in the ecosystem. We're just using Rebrandly, but there's a lot of others that help you to create the UTM, unique tracking link, with the source of the events and the source of that specific event that it's related to. And Tremendous is another tool for gifting. If you did a giveaway or a contest and you want to send your attendees some gift, something nice, you can use Tremendous, and also Giftly or any other tools for that. Another thing, my favorite topic, customer activation. I think that's something that many event managers overlook because they want to make sure that they present their brand, that their specific brand that they are a part of, presented well. However, sometimes the customer sells your product better than you would, because customer is one who is using your product already, who is happy with your product, and who has a lot to share about your product. And people in general just tend to trust customers a bit more than people who are actually advertise their product. So what we started doing last year and continue doing this year and will continue doing next year is involving our customers in most of our hosted events. At trade shows, we would do a booth activation with our customers' products. So for example, here, let's say we have Olipop, which is our customer. Great soda, by the way. This is my favorite taste, orange squeeze. And that's my hand and my colleague's hand. Before the event, we are trying Olipop drinks before the trade show, before offering them to the attendees. Um, at some activations, we did one of our customers, Glamnetic, if anybody is using magnetic lashes here. We did a beauty salon, a pop-up beauty salon at one of the trade shows where people would come and they would be able to get their lashes done on site, and many other things. I can name a ton, and I can talk about it also. If you want to learn more, you can always contact me. I can share more information, how to run those, and what kind of activations you could do. Of course, everything depends on your budget, on your timeline, and many other things. Also have opportunities to follow up with your customers. I personally, maybe no offense, but I prefer to send it through the CRM just because it's easier to track it this way, because you can set up a lot of properties and it can be just tracked better when it's sent through the CRM rather than an event platform. However, depending on the size of the event, you can also do it successfully through the event platform. Okay, and the last thing, of course, you want to make sure that like you measure and track event ROI. So what we do for that, we measure so firstly, before every event, I create a demo UTM link. So we have our general demo gorgeous link, gorgeous.com/demo. But you want to make sure that like customers, or sorry, leads, they actually, the ones who go, they know that they booked the demo through that specific link that is associated with your event. So you want to make sure that you set your source as events, and you want to make sure that you set the campaign name as the name of the event. And you work with your engineering team to set everything up and make sure that all the team uses the right links to book those demos, because that's crucial for your event channel, for your marketing or event channel, depends. And then afterwards, you can see how many deals were created from each event. You can see how much pipeline has been driven. You can see how much revenue has been driven. We use Periscope or Sisense, another name for it. It's our data reporting tool where we can see all the dashboards. We can see how much pipeline we drove in the months, in the quarter, in a year, in 3 years, from the event, per event, per team, and many other filters that we can apply. Highly recommend learning a little bit of SQL for that, to be able to read those dashboards and correct those dashboards. However, this is a crucial way for you to know more, and to also make sure that you have this data in order to make a decision for the next year or next time if you want to do this event again. And with that, I believe I'm at about time. So I would love to stay in touch with you. And if you would like to learn more about events tactics and more practical tips, feel free to contact me on LinkedIn. We can set up a call. You can scan the QR code here. It was great. I'll leave some time for questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you for sharing. I feel like you went into so much detail about how you're making your events stand out and then how you're actually proving the value. I have one question, and I had to write it out in the Q&A because I was like, hey, don't forget any parts of this question. How do you talk about qualitative metrics around events? Because I find it isn't always possible to break even with events. Like, the amount of money coming in, whether it's directly with tickets and sponsors and partners, or indirectly with lead gen, as you said. So like the amount of money coming in versus the amount of money you're spending on the event, it's not always possible to break even. So do you ever rely on qualitative metrics to prove value of your event programs?
Yeah, that's a great question, Beth. So at Gorgeous, particularly, we do not make money from ticket sales. We only have 2 conferences a year that actually have paid entrance. It's Gorgeous CX Connect and DTCX Retain. Um, However, for us, it's more important to actually bring qualified audience in the room rather than make money from events. So if we do have ticket sales, we usually just make invest it into making our event better. hire additional catering or do something nicer for attendees. Same goes for the sponsorship fees. So, for example, if we sell sponsorships for events because it's a lot of value for other tech partners, for other tech solution providers to sponsor those events and get access to the audience that we have access to. So we do sell sponsorships, but again, this goes into the events budget. So we don't really aim to make any money off the event. However, we want to make sure that we meet the goal of the event. So if it is an event for the partner community, we want to make sure that we close a certain number of partners at the event for Gorgeous. If it is a lead generation event, we make sure that we add new deals, a certain number of deals, and we set ROI depending on the event. So for trade shows, as I mentioned, ROI is usually lower because this is more like a marketing brand exposure, and it's just almost impossible to get ROI from a trade show considering the cost. However, if we're running a dinner and we invest, I don't know, $3,000 for a dinner, we want to make sure that we get at least $6,000 back in deals, in closed deals.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense. I mean, if you're looking at like dollars and cents, I think that yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you again for joining us. It was a real pleasure to have you today.
Thank you all. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to just message me on LinkedIn. And yeah, thank you all.